Hey guys, all right, so it is such a beautiful day outside. I figured I would do this video outside. All of my videos to this point have been, about me going to the hospital, diverticulitis, what I'm doing to deal with that, how it felt, yada, yada, yada. Things that most people can't relate to. So I figured that I might be able to make a video that people that aren't in their 60s can probably relate to. And that is my realization when I was in the hospital. And it was a pretty major one as far as realizations go. To some of you, it's not a secret. Some of you, I don't speak openly about it to people who aren't fairly close to me, my colleagues and my family and friends. But I've been clean from opioids for quite some time now. Oh, look, I got a little pal just kind of showed up here. These guys are everywhere, all over my property, but I got to put him down. Well, anyway, where was I? So most people that I talk to about this, they know my stance on it. They've heard me say, even if it was in front of me, I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't bother me. Which is, I don't know if that was just a tool for myself to try and reaffirm, new feelings on just hating opioids, or if it was something that I just really, really sincerely hoped. When I was in the hospital, the first thing that they did was try to put me on narcotics. I was in a lot of pain. It's understandable that they would try and do that. It wasn't just doctors writing prescriptions willy-nilly. They were trying to do that for a reason. And if you are an opioid addict or recovering, and you do have to go to the hospital for something that, you're in pain for, it is okay to take those when it's monitored. And, but for me, it was just, I don't want to go down that path ever again. So I don't take them. This is something that during my recovery, I had a tooth pulled and did end up taking painkillers for that. But what I did was I got into work and I gave my manager my pills and asked him to basically give those to me as needed, because I did not want to run down that slippery slope where you have these thoughts where you're like, okay, I'm still in a little bit of pain. I could take one more. That's that slippery slope that I'm talking about. So, if you're in the hospital and they're monitoring it, and you are in a lot of pain, there's not much need for you to be in pain. As long as it's monitored and you're not abusing this. For me, I didn't want any narcotics in my system whatsoever. This was a big deal to me because I've been clean for years. I don't know if it was to try and prove something to myself, try to prove, if it was an endurance test. But immediately when I said no to that, I felt not a weight lifted, but a weight put on me, which was shocking. Like I thought I'd have this liberating moment where, yes, I said no, even after years. I thought it would be really easy to say no, but I felt immediate regret for saying no. I knew that was a chance for me to get high, whether I was in pain or not. And it was kind of an upsetting realization. You don't think that you're gonna feel that way or react that way. And even the people that I've spoken to that have dealt with opioid addiction, they right off the bat, I told them, I told them I can't take narcotics. They knew right off the bat how big of a deal that was, that I said no. It wasn't that big of a deal to me until I got a chance to simmer on it, which didn't take long. It was the second they left the room, really. At first it was this kind of, proud, no, I don't take those. And then it turned to, wait, come back. And, luckily I didn't shout out the wait, come back. I have always been kind of private about this, unless you're somebody I feel comfortable with, or somebody going through, something rough like this, where I can share my experience with you. The reason I'm making this video now is because of that impact that it had. And sorry if I'm like moving around and I'm restless. This really is an uncomfortable video for me to make. Not only because I'm just sitting here talking to a camera in the woods, but because I remember my life experience with this. I remember what it did to my life. I remember what I did to other people's lives. And it's painful, to even, think or talk about that stuff. It didn't feel like me, but it was. I knew what I was doing. When I did all that, all the stuff in my addictions. I remember kicking on the jailhouse floor. I remember, going through the worst of the worst. So that's why it's not something that I generally love to sit down and speak about, unless it's somebody who needs help or it's somebody that's close to me. It was just really eye-opening to have that experience, to know that I could have taken advantage of that scenario, and that I didn't. Granted, I kept myself in pain for a little while longer, but I knew my surgery was coming up fairly shortly. I knew I could get by, so I didn't. The thing that most people don't realize is that no matter how out of the woods you are, you never really get away from this. That was one thing I didn't understand at first. I didn't understand for years. I felt so good. I kept my ass away from that shit, and I would not touch it. And I had that mentality that I will never do it again. But once I was put in that scenario, years after being clean, and having that temptation be so, it was almost overwhelming. It's interesting to see how you react and how you hold yourself in those scenarios. It's interesting to try and figure out what to do with this flood of emotion. It's all pretty intense. And this realization that I had while I was in the hospital is that this is something that I will be dealing with for the rest of my life. I sincerely meant it every single time I said, even if it was right in front of me, I wouldn't do it. I really, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, did mean that. It's a different story when it really is in front of you. You know, people don't realize how tricky this disease is and how slippery these slopes can get. So, just thought I'd make this video to kind of share with you guys and, you know, kind of speak out to anybody who has been through this. You know, like I said, it's not something I generally speak publicly about, but after kind of going through what I went through and having that realization, you know, who knows, you know, maybe somebody has the same thought process as I do, and maybe they'll watch, and maybe they'll say, yeah, I've been that dude that said I would never do it again, and haven't been put in that scenario yet, and maybe they just need a quick heads up. But well, anyway, I'll let you guys go. I've been ranting on for long enough. I appreciate you guys listening to it. Oh, I'm feeling much better, by the way. Just in case anybody was wondering how my stomach's doing. But I will let you guys go. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you.